Hey friends, moving on with Crenshaw. Hopefully you've been watching these videos and enjoying the book with me. We're still in the middle of the flashback. The family's on the up and up. It said 14 weeks in their car. They now have the apartment. We didn't hear much about Crenshaw's interactions during that time. I think that's where we're going to be going. Let's go. In Hunty's chair again. Crenshaw and I didn't chat much during those weeks on the road. There was always someone around to interrupt us. But that was okay. I knew he was there, and that was enough. Sometimes it's all you really need from a friend. When I think about that time, what I remember most of all is Crenshaw riding on top of our minivan. I'd stare out the window at the world blurring past, and every so often I'd catch a glimpse of his tail riding the wind like the end of a kite. I'd feel hopeful then, for a while at least, that things would get better, that maybe, just maybe, anything was possible. So Crenshaw really gave her that confidence and comfort that you need with a friend. He didn't want to always be with mom, dad, or sister. You wanted a friend, and living like he was, it was hard to have that. So friends can give you that comfort, that reassurance that things are going to be okay. I guess for most kids, imaginary friends just sort of fade away, the way dreams do. I've asked people when their imaginary friends stop hanging around, and they never seem to remember. Everybody said the same thing. I guess I just outgrew him. But I lost Crenshaw all of a sudden after things got back to normal. It was like when you have a favorite t-shirt that you've worn forever, and then one day you put it on and surprise, your belly button is showing. You don't remember growing too big for your shirt, but sure enough, there's your belly button sticking out for the whole wide world to see. The way he left, Crenshaw walked to school with me. The day he left, Crenshaw walked to school with me. He did that most mornings unless he wanted to stay home and watch Blue's Clues. We stopped at the playground. I was telling him about how I wanted to get a real cat someday. That was before I found out my parents were extremely allergic to cats. Crenshaw stirred in his head, then he did a cartwheel. He was excellent at cartwheels. When we stopped at a stop sign, he gave me a grumpy look. "I'm a cat," he said. "I know," I said. "I'm a real cat." His tail whipped up and down. I said, a cat other people can see. He batted a paw at a yellow butterfly. I could tell he was ignoring me. A bunch of big guys, 4th and 5th graders, walked by. They pointed at me and laughed, making cuckoo circles with their fingers. "Who you talking to, doofus?" one asked, and then he snort laughed. That is my least favorite kind of laughing. I pretended not to hear him. I knelt down and tied my shoe like it was a very important thing I had to do. My face was hot, my eyes were wet. I had never been embarrassed about having an imaginary friend until that moment. I waited. The boys moved on. Then I heard someone else approaching. She wasn't walking, more like skip dancing. "Hey, I'm Marisol," said the girl. I'd seen her at recess before. She had long, dark, crazy hair and an unusually large smile. "I have a T-Rex backpack just like yours. I'm going to be a paleontologist when I grow up, which means—" "I know what it means," I said. "I want to be one too, or maybe a bat scientist." Her smile got even bigger. "I'm Jackson," I said, and I stood. When I looked around me, I realized that Crenshaw had vanished. So think about that, like the day he made a friend, the day Crenshaw left. So it seems like he appears when he really needs a friend. And he has Marisol now, so he doesn't need Crenshaw. I've sometimes wondered if I was kind of old to have an imaginary friend. Crenshaw didn't even show up into my life until the end of 1st grade. So one day at the library, I looked it up. Turns out somebody did a study on children and their imaginary friends. Fact is, 31% of them had an imaginary friend at age 6 or 7, even more when they were 3 or 4 years old. Maybe I wasn't so old after all. In any case, Crenshaw had excellent timing. He came into my life just when I needed him to. It was a good time to have a friend, even if he was imaginary. Part 3. The world is so you have something to stand on. Remember all these little parts? I have intros from that he likes. It occurred to me that Crenshaw's return, the night of the kiddie bubble bath, as I came to think of it, might be a sign that I was right about my parents. It was coming again. The moving, the craziness, maybe even the homelessness. I told myself I'd just have to face facts and make the best of it. It wouldn't be the first time we'd hit a rough spot. Still and all, I've been hoping to get Miss Leach for 5th grade. Everybody said she liked to explode stuff for science. And Marisol and I had our dog walking business going pretty well, and I had been looking forward to trying out the new skate park when they got built in January. Maybe even doing rec soccer if we could come up with the money for a uniform. It would be easier for Robin. You could move her anywhere and she'd be fine. She made friends in an instant. She didn't have to worry about real stuff. She was still a kid. Do you like that his perception of himself as a 10, 11-year-old is that he's not a kid? And that this change is going to be difficult for him because of that? Interesting. I lay on my mattress as the list of things I was going to miss kept getting longer. I told my brain to take a time out. Sometimes it actually works. Not so much this round. Last year, my principal told me I was an old soul. I asked what that meant, and he said I seemed wise beyond my years. He said it was a compliment. That he liked the way I always knew when someone needed help with fractions, or the way I emptied the pencil sharpener without being asked. That's the way I am at home, too. Most of the time, anyway. Sometimes I feel like the most grown-up one in the house, which is why it seemed like my parents should have known they could talk to me about grown-up stuff, and why it seemed like they should tell me the truth about moving. Last fall, a big raccoon got into our apartment through an open window. It was 2 a.m. Aretha barked like a maniac, and we all ran to see what was wrong. The raccoon was in the kitchen, examining a piece of Aretha's dog chow. He held it in his little hands proudly like he discovered a big brown diamond. He was not even a tiny bit afraid of us. He nibbled his diamond carefully. He seemed glad we joined him for dinner. Aretha leapt onto the couch. She was barking so loud I thought my ears would fall off. Robin ran to get her baby buggy in case a raccoon wanted to go for a ride. My mom called 911 to report a home invasion. My dad, who only had on his sock, monkey pajama bottoms, turned on his electric guitar and made this ear-splitting screech sound to scare off the raccoon. "Don't you dare go near that animal," my mom warned Robin. She pointed to her cell phone and shushed us. "Yes, officer, yes, 68 Quiet Moon, apartment 132. No, he's not attacking anyone. He's eating dog food. Dog chow, actually, not the wet kind. Kids, stay away. He could be rabid." "He's not a rabbit, Mommy," Robin said as he wheeled her buggy in circles around the living room. "I'm pretty sure he's a beaver." For a while, I just watched them go crazy. It was kind of entertaining. And finally, I whistled. I had a really good whistle for a kid. I used my pinky fingers. Everyone stopped and stared. Even the raccoon. "Guys, just sit on the couch," I said. "I've got this." I walked to the front door and opened it. That's all I did, just opened it. Fog drifted, frogs chatted, the waiting world was calm. Everyone sat on the couch. I kept Aretha quiet with her squirrel chewy toy. It was covered with dog slobber. We watched the raccoon finish his food. When he was done, he waddled past us like he owned the place and headed for the open door. He glanced over his shoulder before he left. I could almost hear him muttering, "Next time I'm going to a different place. This family is nuts." Lately, I felt like I always had to be on high alert for the next raccoon invasion. He's the one problem solving in the family. Saturday morning, I woke up and went into the living room and found a big empty spot where our TV had been. The room looked naked without it. My dad was making breakfast, pancakes and bacon. We hadn't had pancakes and bacon in a really long time. Robin was sitting at the kitchen table. Aretha was drooling, and Robin's chin was gooey with syrup. Daddy made pancakes shaped like R's for Robin. "Do you have a letter preference?" my dad asked me. He was using his cane, which meant he wasn't feeling great. "You okay?" I asked. "The cane, just a little insurance policy." I hugged him. "Plain old circle pancakes would be great," I said. "Where's Mom?" "Picked up an extra breakfast shift at Toast." "Daddy sold the TV to Marisol," Robin said. She jutted out her lower lip to make sure we knew she wasn't happy. "Marisol?" I repeated. "I saw her dad while I was taking out the trash," my dad said as he poured perfect circles of batter into a pan. "We were talking about the game today and how his TV had conked out, and then one thing led to another. He had the cash, I had the TV, and the rest is history." "But how are you and I going to watch the game?" I asked. "We're going to Best Buy it." I grabbed a strip of bacon. "What's that mean?" My dad adjusted the heat in the stove. "You'll see. Where there's a will, there's a way." "Aretha liked watching Curious George," said Robin. She set down her plate and Aretha licked it clean. "You may be interested to hear that Curious George began in his existence as a character in a book," said my dad as he flipped a pancake. "In any case, this family needs to spend more quality time together. You know, play cards maybe, Monopoly." "I like Chutes and Ladders," said Robin. "Me too," my dad tossed a little chunk of bacon to Aretha. "Too much TV rots your brain." "You love TV," I said while I was staring at the dishwasher. "That's because TV's rotted it. There's still hope for you two." It didn't take long for my breakfast to be ready. "Nice works on the pancakes," I said. "Thanks. I do have a certain flair," my dad said, pointing a spatula at me. "I saw Marisol when Carlos and I were carrying in the TV. She said to remind you about the Goucher's dachshunds." "Yeah, we're walking them tomorrow." "Are dachshunds wiener dogs?" Robin asked. "Yes, ma'am," My dad nodded. You know, Jax, I haven't seen much of Dawan or Ryan or anyone else lately. What's up with that? I don't know. Dawan and Ryan are doing soccer camp, and everyone does different stuff in the summer. My dad put some dishes in the sink. His back was turned to me. I'm really sorry about soccer camp, Jax. We just couldn't swing it. No biggie, I said quickly. I'm kind of growing out of soccer. Yeah, my dad said softly. That happens. I stared at the sweet steam spinning from my pancakes. I tried hard not to think about Marisol watching our TV, feeling sorry for us while we played chutes and ladders and ate bran cereal out of a T-ball cap. Then I tried not to be annoyed at myself for worrying about something so unimportant. I grabbed my fork and knife and sliced up my pancakes. Whoa, said my dad. Ease up, Zorro. I looked up, confused. Who's Zorro? The masked guy, good with swords. My dad pointed to my plate. You were getting a little carried away with the slice and dice action. I looked down at my pancakes. It was true. I had destroyed them pretty well. But that wasn't what got my attention. In the middle of the plate, surrounded by maple syrup, were slices of pancakes neatly forming 8 letters. Crenshaw. Maybe it was my imagination, maybe not. In any case, I scarfed them down before anyone could notice. So it starts to make sense that the family's going through another tough time, and that Dad's mentioning, like, we don't see your friends around a lot, and so it's that idea that he's going to need Crenshaw again, that support system. So that's why he's coming back. It's a little foreshadowing that things might not be good. Tough times, you have to make sacrifices. They got rid of their TV, they're getting rid of furniture, they're trying to do what they can to keep the roof over their heads. So I can only imagine what that's like. Okay, so we're going to read more tomorrow. Have a good day.